We'll get started with the prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yudkritam Tamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramanandamadhavam Krishna Chaitanyamishwaram Namamom Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavade Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलं वाल्मीकिर्मुनिसिंहस्य कवितावनचारिणः शृण्वन् रामकथानादं कोनयाते परां गतिं वेदवेद्ये परे पुंसे जाते दशरथात्मजे वेदः प्राचेतसात् आसीत् साक्षात् रामायणात्मना अञ्जनानन्दनं वीरं जानकी शोकनाशनं कपीशमक्षहन्तारं वन्दे लङ्काभयङ्करम् मनोजवं मारुततुल्यवेगं जितेन्द्रियं बुद्धिमतां वरिष्ठं वातात्मजं वानरयुतमुख्यं श्रीरामदूतं शिरसा नमामि आञ्जनेयमदिपाटनालनं काञ्चनाद्रिकमनीयविग्रहं पारिजाततरुमूलवासिनं भावयामि भवमानन्दनम् यत्र यत्र रघुनाथकीर्तनं तत्र तत्र कृतमस्तकाञ्जलिं भाष्पवारि परिपूर्णलोचनं मारुतिं नमत राक्षसान्तकम् जयत्राश्रितसन्त्रासध्वान्तविध्वांसनोदयः प्रभावान् सीतया देव्या परमव्योमभास्करः श्रीराम राम रामेति रमे रामे मनोरमे सहस्रनाम तत्तुल्यं रामनाम वरानने. We are seeing the Uttara Ramayana, Uttara Kanda of the Ramayana that has a lot of explanation about why certain characters behaved in certain ways. So it's an answer to many questions, and it is very important to study the Uttara Ramayana. The Uttara Ramayana begins with the verse Prapta Rajasya Ramasya Rakshasanan Vadhe Krite Ajaghamu Rishayah Sarve Raghavam Pratinanditum. So, right after Ramachandra got the Rajya, after killing Ravana, what happened? Many rishis, they collectively came together to see Raghava, who is Lord Ramachandra. So many rishis, they came to meet Lord Ramachandra, and Lord Ramachandra invited the rishis, and he started inquiring from the rishis about their welfare. At that time, the rishis said, "We are so happy that Ravana has killed, and especially Indrajit is killed." So that is when Ramachandra asked, "What is so special about Indrajit?" And the rishis, headed by Agastya Muni, they begin to tell the story of the Rakshasas. He tells how Pulatsya Rishi was the ancestor of Ravan. He was actually a Brahmin, and he gets married to his first wife, from whom he gets this son by the name Vishravas. From Vishravas, Vaishravana is born, who's Kuvera, and Kuvera gets control of Lanka. But this Vishravas, he had another wife by the name Kaikasi, and she becomes the mother of Ravana, Kumbhakarna, and Shurpanaka. Okay. So when he's talking about that, when especially he tells about Lanka was in control of Kuvera, and later the Rakshasas had actually acquired Lanka, after Kuvera was in control of Lanka. So when this topic had come, Ramachandra had a question and he was asking what happened. How come the Rakshasas acquired Lanka? The sages also mentioned that the Rakshasas were in Lanka before Kuvera acquired Lanka. So he was very, very confused and he wanted to know more about their about how the Rakshasas had first kept Lanka in their control, and then later Kuvera got it, and again they acquired Lanka. So he was very curious to know more, and that is when Agastya Muni he begins to tell the story of Sukesha. So the Sukesha, he was actually one of the descendants of two Rakshasas by the name Praheti and Heti. So Heti wanted to get married. Praheti started doing austerities while Heti wanted to get married. And she begot Vidyut Kesha. Vidyut Kesha's son was Sukesha. Now this Sukesha, he had a boon from Lord Shiva and Parvati and he became very, very powerful. And he got three sons by the name Mali, Sumali and Malyavan. These three sons, they were very powerful. They performed austerities towards Brahma and they received the city, golden city called as Lanka on Mount Trikuta. So they were very powerful and they were terrorizing the universe. And meanwhile, the demigods had approached Vishnu. There was a great war that ensued between the Rakshasas and the Devatas. And in this battle, Vishnu supported the Devatas because the Devatas had surrendered unto him. And when these three brothers, Mali, Sumali, and Malyavan were fighting, Mali was literally running away. But though he was showing his back and running away, the Lord released a Sudarshan Chakra and the Lord killed him. So that is when Sumali and Malyavan, they were very upset with the Lord's behavior and they questioned the Lord, how can you do this? And at that time, the Lord talks about Sharanagati Dharma. He says, these Devtas, they have surrendered unto me, and they are certainly, once anyone says that I am yours and they surrender unto me, I take full responsibility of protecting them, and I don't care about any other lower dharmas. So then the rishis say that this Malyavan and Sumali, they went to Rasatala. Initially, they had Lanka with them, but then in fear of Narayan, they actually went to Rasatal region. And one day, Sumali emerged from the Rasatal region trying to find a suitable match for his daughter. And he gave his daughter Kaikasi in marriage to Vishrava's. So Vishrava's second wife was Kaikasi. From the first wife, he had Vaishravana, who's Kuvera. But from the second wife, he has these three sons, Dashagriva, Kumbhakarna, Vibhishan, and Shurpanaka. And then he goes on to tell about their story. So he says that this Ravan, when he was brought up itself, he was called as Dashagriv. But when he was brought up itself, there was the seed of envy in his heart. He was always compared with his older stepbrother Kuvera. And he started performing various austerities along with his brothers to somehow get many, many boons from Brahma and become very powerful. And that is when Vashigriva, as a result of his boons, he asked Brahma that he should not get death from different kinds of living entities like the Rakshasas, Yakshas, and so on. And he said, I don't care about human beings because they are too little for me. Kumbhakarna, you know his story, how he wanted Nirdevatvam, but then because of the presence of Goddess Saraswati on his tongue, it became Nidrevatvam, that is only sleep. And Vibhishan got this very nice blessing that he wanted to always stick on the path of Dharma. So after he became so powerful, his uncles, Malyavan, actually not uncle, but more like a grandfather, he comes and he and Prahastha, they come and tell Ravan that actually, you know what, this Lanka belonged to us. Because Mali, Somali, Malyavan, they had acquired Lanka, right? So he says, actually, this Lanka belonged to us. It is now Kuvera is taking care of it. But then originally it belongs to us, and you are born of a Rakshasa mother. So you can become our leader and you can take over Lanka. And Ravan sends a messenger who's Prahasta who goes and tells Kuvera that he has to vacate. Kuvera consults with his father and he decides to vacate. And he goes to his own place near Mount Kailash. And this Ravana, he takes over Lanka. Meanwhile, Ravana, he decides that it was time for him to get married and settled. He gets his sister Shorpanaka married to Vidyut, but later the same Vidyut is killed by Ravan in a war. He marries the daughter of Mayadhanava by the name Mandodari, and they have a son by the name Indrajit. And also the marriage of Kumbhakarna and Vibhishan is also mentioned. Now, when Ravan was going out of control, he was taking, because he became very powerful, he started terrorizing the entire world. At that time, Kuvera, who's a very responsible elder brother, he sent a messenger saying that Ravan, behave yourself. Don't torment everyone like this. Even a slight misbehavior is not tolerated by the higher living entities, like the demigods and Lord Shiva and others. But then Ravan, his usual stunt is that what does he do to a messenger? He tries to kill them. So he had killed the messenger actually. He kills Kuvera's messenger and he goes and declares a war against the against Kuvera and his men who are the Yakshas. So the great Rakshasa Yaksha Yuddha began. And as a result of subduing Kuvera, he takes away the Pushpak Viman. He snatches the Pushpak Viman from him. Actually, the Pushpak belonged to Kuvera because Kuvera did austerities and got the Pushpak from Brahma. But now Ravan defeated Kuvera and he snatched the Pushpak Viman and he goes and settles down in Lanka. Now, after he settled down, what did he do? He started being his usual. He went around tormenting people around him, especially he would go and disturb women. Okay, that was his usual nature. Once it so happened that he went near the Kailash area. He was flying in his Pushpak Viman, and suddenly the Pushpak wouldn't move on top of Kailash. And he was very surprised and he sees Nandikeshwar and he asks him, Are, why is my Pushpak not moving? And Nandi says, No, you can't move above Kailash because this is the abode of Lord Shiva. He says, Oh, who is that Shiva? And he starts laughing and he decides to lift up Kailash with his bare hands. And his hands get stuck because Lord Shiva, with his toe, he presses down Mount Kailash. And then he is crying out in great pain and he sings lots of songs from the Samaveda for thousands of years and he pleases Lord Shiva. And finally, Shiva blesses him. He tells him, okay, don't worry. And he leaves him. And he also gives him one Chandrahasa sword. Then he gets a curse from Vedavati because he tries to misbehave with her. And Vedavati says that I will be the cause of your death. Later, she appears as Padma Samudbhava. And then she's seen as the daughter of King Chanaka. Meanwhile, there is a story of how different animals were blessed by the demigods. Because in fear of Ravan, once the demigods, they had come to the sacrifice of King Marutta. And they saw Ravan there and they got scared. So they started taking the forms of different animals. And we see that Indra took the form of a peacock and Kuvera took the form of a chameleon, Varuna of a swan, and so on. Shani of the crow and all that. So basically, sorry, Yama as the crow, not Shani, Yama as the crow. So like this, they take on different forms of animals and birds, and they also give blessings to these animals and birds. And we saw the different blessings, like a peacock was blessed to have beautiful eyes, and the swan was blessed to be very white and beautiful, and so on. Then there was an episode with Rambha. He went and misbehaved with Rambha, and he was cursed by Nalakuvar that if you touch some woman without her consent, your head will split into multiple pieces. Then what happened? Indrajit, he started growing up and uh, uh, there was a fight between Indrajit. Why was he called as Indrajit? Because originally his name was Meghanath, right? So Meghanath, there was a fight between the demigods and Meghanath. And Meghanath actually arrests Indra and in that episode. And because he arrests Indra and he becomes to be known as as Indrajit. Okay. And Brahma comes to release Indra, and that is when our Indrajit he asks for the boon that I have a request. If I have to release Indra, then you have to give me a boon that if at all at the time of battle I offer oblations to the sacrificial fire, a chariot should emerge from that flames. And before I cross the boundary, as soon as I cross the boundary of that area, I will become invincible in the battle. So, and Brahma gave that boon, and that is the Nikumbila sacrifice that he actually he makes. And finally, Lakshmana, he goes at the right time, diverts him, and kills him. So that is when the sages, till Ramchandra, you asked about the greatness of Indrajit. The reason we were all worried about Indrajit is that, especially, we were very worried that if he finishes the sacrifice, he will win the war. So that is why we were worried about Indrajit. He had even captured Indra and he had kept him captive. So he is very powerful. Whereas, though Ravan is very powerful, it is destined that just because he had gotten so many curses, anyhow he will die. Mm. So, like that. Then there are episodes with Kartavirya Arjuna and Bali, where Ravan is defeated by Kartavirya Arjuna and he is also defeated by Bali. So, like this, the sages told Ramchandra that if there is someone who has defeated Ravan, then it must be these two personalities. And that is when Ramchandra asks a question about Hanuman. He says, "Oh, Ali is strong, I agree. Sugriva is also strong, I agree. But then, how come Hanuman didn't vanquish Vali? Hanuman is much stronger than everybody." And that is when the sages they tell about the life of Hanuman. First, they talk about the birth of Hanuman, how he was born, and then later, as a mischievous kid, how he wanted to eat the sun, and then he saw Rahu and he chased after Rahu, and finally he saw Airavat and he chased after Airavat, and our Indra was very upset and he throws the Vajra weapon on Hanuman. And Hanuman falls down because of the effect of the Vajra, and his chin is broken. And from that day, he's known as Hanuman. Hanuman means one whose chin is broken, actually. This jawline is broken. So then Vayu is very upset and he stops functioning. And to pacify Vayu, all the demigods came and they gave boons to Hanuman. And Hanuman receives so many boons, he becomes such a mischievous kid that the sages are so disturbed by all the mischief that he is doing and they curse him. They tell him that if at all from today, you're going to forget your capabilities and the boons that you have received until and unless the day comes when you're reminded of it. So that is when we understand that later Jambavan reminded Hanuman of his capabilities and Hanuman exhibited his capabilities. So not only that, Hanuman was very well learned. He had Suryadev as his teacher and he was known as Navavyakaran Pandita. He knew the 9 systems of grammar. So these were very great qualities of Hanuman. So then, after having all this talk, the sages decided to take their leave, and Ramachandra also took their blessings that he wanted to perform many, many sacrifices. Time passed on, and Bharata came and he started to glorify the rule of the kingdom. And he says that it's just been a few days since you have started, a few months or few year, more than a month since you have started ruling, and everything is very nice. Then later, again, time passed by, and the seasons passed. This is mentioned about 2 years pass actually. Seasons are passing one after the other. Winter passes, spring passes. And then eventually, Ramachandra gets to know that his wife is pregnant. And she says, he tells his wife that I see symptoms of pregnancy in you. So, what do you desire? And that's when she says, I have a very strong desire that I want to go and reside in the ashrams that are situated on the bank of the river Ganges. She says, I enjoyed that period very, very much when I was in the forest. And Ramchandra says, yes, definitely. Very soon you will get that opportunity. Then, as time passed by, one day, Ramchandra, he hears this feedback about the people, the citizens, what they had to say. Rama had advisors, he had spies who would go into the city and find out how the people are faring. And he had a messenger by the name Bhadra who did this job for him. And one day Bhadra came and Ramchandra was inquiring, and Bhadra said, "Oh, your rule is always fantastic. Everybody is very happy." But then Ramchandra says, "No, no, I should also tell about the proper feedback, whatever negative is there, whatever shortcomings is there in the kingdom." And then that is when Bhadra says, "I don't know whether it is good or bad, but there are people who are talking that Ram has definitely performed an extraordinary feat by killing a Rakshasa, but still he's a very lusty person because he has brought a woman who has lived under the care of another man and he's keeping her just for the sake of lust." And these people, they say, Asmakam apidareshu sahaniyam bhavishyati yata hi kurute raja praja tamanu vartate. That means whatever a king does, the subjects must follow. And so now we have to also tolerate unfaithfulness from our wives. So such kind of words people are speaking about you. So Ramchandra was very shocked. He checked with the other ministers if whatever was being spoken is true, and then he gets to know that there are a lot of people speaking like this. And then he starts lamenting. He says, "Oh, Sita, she did so much. She entered fire to prove to the citizens, and so that the citizens can understand the nature of Sita." He says, "I know the nature of Sita. She's completely pure and innocent." And he feels extremely bad. He doesn't know what to do. And after a lot of deliberation, he calls Lakshman and he tells Lakshman, "I have to say something very painful, but please listen to me and do it with attention." Sita had, he tells that how people were talking bad about Sita. And he specifically says, "I don't want her to hear any blasphemy about her. I don't want her to know that people are blaspheming her. So let her not stay amidst these people. It is better if she's not in this environment." And so he says, "If needed, I can even give up my life. But unfortunately, I am in this situation. I am in this position as king." And Ramchandra very well knows that he can hand over his kingdom to any of his brothers, but none of his brothers are going to accept. Because as it is earlier itself, when the kingdom was offered when the princeship, that is, when Ramchandra was coronated as the king, when the prince position was given to Lakshman, Lakshman said no, and Ram literally forced Bharata to become the prince. So he knows very well Bharata is going to be, he's not going to take the kingdom at any cost, nor is Lakshman going to take, nor is Shatrughna going to take. Okay, and at this point in time, he had a responsibility. He had to act for the sake of people for a higher cause. And he gives an instruction to Lakshman, "Let her not stay here. She's not going to be comfortable. Take her away and leave her very carefully under the care of Valmiki." Because she says, "You go to Valmiki's ashram and leave on the banks of river Tamasa. You go with proper care, leave her there. You must carry out my order without argument." So Lakshman was broken-hearted, and because he was a very, very obedient servant of his elder brother, he gave his consent and they started moving. So next day morning, Lakshman went to Sita and he said, "Your husband has ordered me to fulfill your desire. I will take you to the banks of the river Ganga and you can worship the rishis who are residing there." And he says that Sumantra is ready with the chariot, so you please come as at once. So we are continuing from here today. Okay, so we have to see how Sita Devi actually goes to the ashram of Valmiki. This is the second time Sita will be separated from Ram. First time she was separated is when Ravana kidnapped her. Now this is going to be the second episode of separation. This entire Ramayana is in the mood of shoka, lamentation, very sad story. But we have so much to learn. The Supreme Lord and the Goddess of Fortune, they personally come to teach us how life can be. Life has been so testing for both of them. And they teach us that this is how life is not going to be easy. We're going to have many hardships, but you should face it with grace, following the right dharma. So next day morning, Lakshman, he tells Sita, "Your husband has told me to fulfill your desire. I heard that you wanted to go and stay amidst the ashrams of the sages. I will take you to the bank of the river Kanga and we can go there." And Sita was very, very happy. Eva muktat vaidehi Lakshmanena mahatmana praharsham Tulam lebhe gamanam chapya rochayat. That means she was so delighted. Prahasham. She was so happy. She was so excited actually because that is what she was longing for. Imani munipatninam dasayamabaranam vastrani cha maharani dhanani vividhani cha. So what did she do? She went and she collected, for the sake of the munipatnis, she got abharanam, she got vastram and haram, dhanam. All this she went and she collected, and she was getting ready to go and see the munipatnis. So this is natural when you're going to meet a sage, a spiritual master, or someone respectable. You will take gifts for them, right? So she went and she collected all sorts of gifts, and she was very excited. And that day they stay near the river Gomati, and the next day they come near the banks of the river Ganga. Okay, so they have come near the banks of river Ganga. But then, as they were proceeding, as they were moving further, Sita, she was getting very anxious in her heart. She felt that something is not right. So she asks Lakshman that my right eye has begun to twitch. This your right eye is twitching, and she says my mind feels very strangely uneasy. So we have seen this nimitta, fakuna, and all that. That the right side of the body, if it twitches for a woman, it is inauspicious. If the left side twitches, it is auspicious. So Sita Devi, she says that, and then her concern was, she says, suddenly I feel something wrong is going to happen. I feel very weak. And for me, the entire world looks very gloomy. I hope Ram is all right. So that is her nature. Even at that time, she was not worrying about her problem. She was not thinking maybe something is going to go wrong with me. She was thinking, I hope Ramachandra is right. She was thinking of Ram, and then, but Lakshman was exploding inside. He had so much emotions. He was continuously crying, and he was trying to control his tears. And finally, they had to cross Jhanavi. They had to cross Ganga. So they arranged for a boat, and they crossed to the other side. And that is where the ashram of Valmiki was there. So after they crossed the river and they got down, Lakshman fell down on his knees, and he confessed to Vaidehi. He told, my dear mother, I have a very, very difficult task that is entrusted to me by your husband. And because of this, I'm going to become very infamous in the world. It is better that I die than I execute the order of your husband. Please forgive me for what I'm being forced to tell you. He fell on the ground. He started weeping so much, and Sita started getting very worried. She asked, oh, Lakshman, what is the matter? I cannot understand what's troubling you. Has Ram undergone any misfortune? Is he having some trouble, and that is why you don't have the courage to tell me? And then Lakshman, he stood up, he bowed down, and in a faltering voice, he said, earlier, when Ram was sitting in the court, he learned about some terrible rumors that is being circulated throughout Ayodhya, accusing both of you. Everywhere, people are blaming Ram for having accepted you and setting a wrong example to the prajas, to the citizens. Sita Devi, I know you are faultless, and Ramchandra also knows that you are faultless. So please don't misunderstand your husband. Your husband knows your nature very well. But however, the citizens are accusing you. They say that you have stayed in someone else's custody, and Ram has just lustfully maintaining you in spite of all of this. And it will be very painful for you to hear this. And that I know you will not be able to hear this. Ram has full faith in you. He understands you, and he has to do this terrible task uh, because of the terrible words of the citizens. And he has to relinquish you. He has to leave you here for good so that he can maintain the good name of the Ikshvaku dynasty and prevent more accusations on you. To prevent any more talks and maintain proper order in society, set the right example as a king, this has to be done. तदेत जाह्नवी तीरे ब्राह्मणानां तपोवनं पुण्यं च रमणीयं च मा विषादं कृताशुभे. Specifically, he tells that you had earlier asked Ram that you wanted to stay amidst the ashrams of munis. So specifically, Ramchandra has asked us to leave you near Valmiki's ashram. And upon hearing her terrible fate, Sita faints on the ground. She's shocked. She's not able to understand why she has to be abandoned. And then she comes to her senses and she starts crying. She says, "Why did my husband abandon me? What wrong did I do?" And she starts crying and blaming herself. And she says, "This life has been so unjust to me. My life has been full of suffering. I don't know what sin I have committed in the past. Maybe I stopped a poor girl's marriage. And is that the reason why Ram is now casting me away?" Uh, then she starts thinking, she says, "Lakshman, but I've always faithfully followed my husband. Even when he went in exile, I didn't leave him even for a moment. I went everywhere, wherever he went. In spite of so many hardships, I decided to follow him. And now I have to stay without him. How will I survive in this forest without his presence?" She says, "न कल्वद्येयं सौमित्रे जीवितं जानवी जले त्यजेयं राजवंशस्तु भर्तुर्मे परिहास्यते." She says, "I'll gladly end my life at once by throwing myself into the Ganga. I'll just jump into the Ganga and suicide. But then I can't bring the end of Ram's dynasty because I'm pregnant now." So then she collects herself for a moment. She takes a deep breath and she says, "Okay, if this is what it has to be, let it be." And she begins to console Ram. She tells Lakshman, "I know my husband Ram cannot tolerate separation from me as much as I cannot tolerate separation from him. However, this is the time for him to stand up and prove himself to the citizens. Please give my message to him." She gives advice to Ram. She says, "जानासि च यथा शुद्धा सीता तत्त्वेन राघव भक्त्या च परया युक्ता हिता च तव नित्यश." I am very pure, and you know that too, my husband. I have a lot of concern for your well being, and you know that very well. If someone has accused you of being lusty and maintaining me as your wife, then live there in that palace without me, without a wife, and prove to the world that you are not a lusty man. Look at the strength of Sita Devi. "Aham त्यक्ता त्वया वीर आयशोभिरुणाजने यच्च ते वचनीयं स्यात् अपवाद समुत्थितं मया च परिहर्तव्यं त्वं हि मे परमागति." As much as it is your duty to clear your name, it is my duty to uphold your dignity and keep up your good name. As the king and queen, both of us have the responsibility to set the right example for the citizens. And she begins to express her concern for the citizens. She says, "वक्तव्यश्चेति नृपति धर्मेण सुसमाहितः यथा भ्रातृषु वर्त one second after me. Vartheta satyata paurushu nityata." She says, "Rama, a king has to be subservient to his subjects. Yes, they have spoken about me. But then, just like how you will be very, very affectionate to your brothers, please be affectionate to the citizens also. They might have spoken about me, but don't keep any hate in your heart. Be affectionate to them." This is the heart of a mother. She says, "You're very important to me. I am also to you. But for the citizens, you are most important. And they will respect you. And you be alone," she says. Meaning, she tells him, "Don't get married. Again, just because you relinquish me, don't take another queen. Show to the world that this is your character. Go back." And then she tells Lakshman, "Go back to Ayodhya, offer my respects to my mothers-in-law and my husband. And my husband knows my chastity. But," she says, "but however, tell the citizens one thing," she says. Her husband knows her chastity and all that. Her husband knows her nature. She is also a very strong woman. But then one thing she wants the citizens to know. What does she want them to know? She wants the citizens to be protected. See what a beautiful queen she is. She says, don't harbor some ill feelings in your heart, my dear husband, for the citizens just because they have made some accusations. Treat them like your own children, like how you would treat your brothers. But I want you, Lakshman, to tell the citizens one thing. What is that? Nirikshya madhya gachatvam Ritukaalani Vartini. I am pregnant now. Do not forget that. Why is she telling that? She wants the citizens to know that she was already pregnant before she left the kingdom. When she came to the ashrama, she came pregnant because she doesn't want them to think, oh, she went to the forest and got pregnant. So she says, tell them this. Don't forget to tell them. She tells Lakshman, Ritukalani Vartini. That means it has been a while since I have had the Ritukal. So I'm pregnant. That is the information she wants to give the people. And Lakshman circumambulates Sita. He gets into the boat and he goes to the other side of the river. And that is where Sumantara is waiting with the chariot. And he boards onto the chariot and he breaks down. He starts crying like anything. And that's when Sumantra consoles Lakshman. He tells, oh, Lakshmana, don't aggrieve so much, seeing the fate of Sita and Ram. All this is already destined. I already know all this. This is going to happen. This was indeed predicted by some astrologers to your father Dasharath. Long time ago, sage Durvasa, he came to spend the Chaturmasya Vrata along with sage Vasishta in Ayodhya. At that time, your father went and visited sage Durvasa and inquired from him about the well-being of you and your entire family. And that is when Durvasa told Dasharath that when Ram becomes the king, he will have lot of troubles. He said long time ago, the Daityas were conquered by the demigods and they sought refuge in the hermitage of Brigumuni, and Brigu's wife, Kavyamata, she gave shelter to the demons. However, when Vishnu got to know that the demons were protected by Kavyamata, Brigu's wife, what he did was he took his disgust and he killed her, killed a woman. Why? Vishnu did it. Yes, Vishnu did that. And because of that, Bhrigu cursed Vishnu. He said, you will take birth as a human being. You will undergo all the sufferings that I am now undergoing, and you will also be separated from your wife for several years, and you will undergo the same suffering I am having now. And Vishnu, who is the Paramatma in everybody's heart, honored the words of the great Brahmana and he accepted this curse. And it is the same Vishnu who's your brother, Rama. This was told by Sumantara to Lakshman. He says, however, Bhrigu repented for what he did and he could understand that the Lord had done certain things for the welfare of the world. And he repented, but still the Lord Vishnu, he decided to incarnate, accept the curse and incarnate in this world and voluntarily be separated from his wife. Then Durvasa told that Lord Ram, as a result of this curse, will be separated from his wife. His wife will be abandoned and he will live for 11,000 years, perform many sacrifices, and he will have two sons from Sita. All this prediction was already made. So don't lament, this is all destined. Now, the question is, what is this welfare for the world, by the separation of Ram and Sita? What sort of welfare is there in this? And the commentator, this is a subtext from the Ramayana. It's called Sri Vachana Bhushanam. It's also a commentary on the Ramayana. It talks about Paratantriam. We have often heard about Paratantriam. Paratantriam means complete dependence. What kind of dependence? In spite of our inconvenience, we stay put according to the Lord's desire. That is called Paratantriam, without questioning. Huh? It's very difficult, actually. Sita, here at this point in time, she was exhibiting the mode of paratantriam. This is how a devotee should be. Okay. Uh, Executing the desires of the Lord in spite of our convenience. Sita, who's the representative of all the jivas, she's representing the jiva. She's not a jiva. She's only representing the condition of the jivas in this material world in this pastime of the Ramayana. So, she, being the representative, showing the world how to be a proper devotee dependent on the Lord, she takes up this inconvenience and gives a message to all of us. So even in the Sundarakanda, we saw that Sita is not a jiva, but she takes on the role to show the world how jivas should be. Similarly, here being that representative, she shows by example what really is paratantriam. Paratantra means Swatantra, Paratantra. Paratantra means some sort of dependence. So we are all dependent on the Lord, right? But then, how should we completely be dependent on the Lord? It's not like I have an agenda, you have an agenda, let's meet halfway. It's not like that. Oh Lord, you satisfy 50% of my agenda, I will satisfy 50% of your agenda. That's not Paratantra. Paratantra means complete dependence. Okay, you want me to be like this, I will be like this. If that is what is your will, let it be like that. Now comes the other aspect that is being told by the Acharyas. This Parima Mataji asked last class. And here in the Sri Vachana Bhushanam, it is written, Sita already had heard about the gossips. And that is the indication in her words, that is the reason in her words, she indicated earlier that she would desire to go and live in the forest. Now, this idea of her telling Ram, when Ram asks her, what is it? What is your desire? How can I fulfill it? This idea of going and staying in the forest with in the ashram of the munis and rishi patnis didn't come out of the blues. According to the commentaries, it was more like she already knew, she had already heard. Ram was very worried that she should not hear the gossip. So Ram was trying to protect her, that let her not hear these gossips. Her heart will break. But Sita had already heard it. And she was thinking it is better that I stay away and let Ram rule the world and let him be a proper example. So here she already knew, and that's the reason when Ram asked her, she said, I want to go to the forest. And she wanted to do what would be appropriate because unless she asks, I want to go to the forest, Ram is not going to let her go. Right? So she plans it, kind of. That is the understanding of some of the commentaries. Now, when the question asked by the commentators is if when Ram didn't want her to come to the forest during his Vanavas, remember during Vanavas, Ram was telling her, no, you stay back in the palace. Don't, you're a princess, stay back in the palace. Right? He didn't want her to come with him. Why? Because she would undergo difficulties as a delicate woman. Uh, so if he was so sensitive, okay, didn't allow her to come to the forest, you think he will tell her when she's pregnant to go to the forest? Uh, it was, so according to the commentators, the whole thing was actually orchestrated by Sita Devi. It was not orchestrated by Ram. So that is the other aspect. And when she was living in the Rishi Patni's ashrams, she always kept Ram in her thoughts, and she gave birth to her sons. She raised her sons with utmost care, and the beauty is that she never uh, implanted any sort of ill feelings in the heart of her children about Ram. She never instilled hatred in their hearts. And she could understand her responsibilities as a queen, not only as a wife, but also as a queen. She could also understand the responsibilities of her husband as a king. So, now, these are all, whatever realizations are there, these are all only from my Guru Maharaj's lectures because I don't have any realizations. I've just added some nice values and realizations here and there from the Ramayana. Says doing good need not always be something pleasurable for the person who's sacrificing his or her comfort for others. So, leadership is not easy unless we are ready to take discomforts for the pleasure of others. So, this whole episode is not pleasurable for Ram or Sita, but why are they doing it? They are doing it because they are leaders. They have to show by example, and they have to ensure others are given pleasure. It's not about their happiness. They wanted to keep others happy. So they are ready to sacrifice their own comforts. Mm. And also the explanation given by the acharyas that none of the brothers would have accepted the throne simply because Bharata, even to take up the princehood, he had to do it with a heavy heart. When Ram had offered him the kingdom, when he went on Vanvas, at that time itself, Bharat said, "I will not take up the kingdom," and he installed the Padukas. And Lakshman will never accept any post in the presence of his brother because he always wanted to serve his brother. And Shatrughna was always dedicated to the service of Bharata. So basically, Ram was completely responsible for the kingdom. He couldn't relinquish it. And he had taken a vow as a Kshatriya. The minute you're installed on the throne, it is not that I take the seat of power and I enjoy. It is taking a vow. It's a sacrifice, right? You have to take that vow that I am responsible now for protecting the citizens. And once you take the oath to become the king, you cannot waver from your responsibilities. So at this point, he couldn't abandon his duties. His tenor, he was in that position of being responsible for everybody. Now, there are other sub stories also why Sita was put into this condition, and these are all quotes from various acharyas. This is directly from the Hari Bhakti Vilas. Hari Bhakti Vilas 12:212 to 214. We find out another reason why Sita was separated from her husband, Lord Ramachandra. The story goes like this. Once, Lord Ramachandra's wife, Sita Devi, asked, "I am neither independent nor am I unchaste. Moreover, I have not committed a sinful activity in this life. What sin did I commit in my previous birth that I am separated from my husband and we had to live in exile earlier?" So she asked this question to whom? She asked this question to Valmiki Muni when she was in his ashram. And Valmiki said, "My dear Sita, you had previously fasted on an Ekadashi that was mixed with Dashami, and then you worshipped Lord Janardhana. As a result of this, you were put into this situation." Now, you all know sometimes Dashami mixes with Ekadashi, and when you have to fast, what do? You have to fast the next day, even if it is not Ekadashi. It will be written Dwadashi, but suitable for fasting. Ekadashi, not suitable for fasting. It is considered sinful to fast on a tithi that is dashami mixed with ekadashi. You can fast on dwadashi, no problem. So that's why some people, when they ask, "Oh, ekadashi, there is some issue, I'm not able to fast. I'll fast the previous day," they'll say, "No, that is not allowed. You cannot fast you should fast later, actually. There is an allowance to fast on Dwadashi. There is allowance, yes. So, but you should never fast on a day that is mixed with Dashami. So there are some rules. Okay, why, how, and all, I don't know. That's how Hari Bhakti Vilas quotes the rules, and that's how we have all been following the rules. That's how Shastra lays certain rules. But it is considered sinful when you do it on a Mishra Tithi. You should not fast, which is mixed with Dashami. So that happened. Now, again, one will argue, "Oh, Sita is an eternal consort of Ram, and what are you talking about, some previous birth, and so on." But we also hear that sometimes plenary expansions of certain jivas who have performed extreme austerities merge into the eternal associate to enjoy pastimes with the Lord. We have seen this in the case of Drona and Dara, who were actually Yashoda and Nanda, right? Uh, so Dronadara, so but are they the eternal? No, this Yashodananda, are they the eternal Yashodana Nanda from Goloka Vrindavan, or are they Dronadara? This question is also asked many times. So there are these certain jivas whose amsha actually merges with the eternal associate of the Lord to enjoy pastimes. That's how the explanation is given. The Padma Purana gives another story. And besides the reason Valmiki Muni gives, Padma Puran tells that there was a pair of parrots, a male and a female parrot, who were reciting the story of Ram and Sita. This pair of parrots were kept in Sita's zoo. Okay, she had a little zoo where she had some pets in her childhood days. And she had this pair of parrots, and they would tell the story of Ramayana very sweetly. They would tell, "Oh, this Sita is going to marry Ram, and then Ram and Sita are going to go to the forest." So, like that, these parrots were telling very beautiful stories. And Sita was so fascinated. And what she did was she captured the female parrot when the female parrot was pregnant, and she released the male parrot. Okay, she just kept the female parrot in a cage, but she released the male parrot, and the male parrot felt intense separation because the male parrot was released, but the female was not released. She was held captive by Sita Devi in her childhood, and especially the female was pregnant. And the male was feeling very deep separation from his wife, and he curses Sita that you will also see a similar situation where when you are pregnant, you will be separated from your husband. And then that parrot, according to the Padma Puran, drowns in river Sarayu and takes rebirth as who? The washerman, according to Padma Puran. According to Valmiki Ramayana, Valmiki keeps it very simple. He just says some people were gossiping. That's all. And we see from the Madhva Sampradaya, there is a commentary that these people were actually demons in disguise. But this Padma Puran says it was specifically a parrot that cursed Sita, fell into the river, suicided, and then was reborn as the washerman who was responsible for spreading bad rumors about Sita Devi. Okay, so these are some back-end stories why Sita had to go this. Fine. Now we saw Lakshman went by, he heard stories from Sumantra that, oh, this is all destined and don't lament and all that. And they started moving towards Ayodhya. Meanwhile, Sita was left near the precincts of the Valmiki ashram and she was just sitting on the ground weeping. And at that time, some ladies, they saw Sita Devi, very aristocratic woman, and she was sitting and crying. And they went and called Valmiki Muni and they said, please come here quickly. There is a woman who resembles the goddess of fortune and she's sitting alone in this area and she's crying. And immediately Valmiki could understand everything by his mystic power. So he rushed to the spot and he very humbly approaches her and he begins to speak to her and he says, this he tells, my dear Sita Devi, you're the wife of Rama. You're the daughter of Maharaj Janaka. I understand who you are. And I know what has happened. I understand your plight. So please don't be afraid. Please come to my ashram. And in this ashram, we have many, many female ascetics who are practicing here. They will take very good care of you. This will be your new home. And ensure, so Valmiki very carefully safeguarded Sita and took her to the ashram and he put her under the care of many other Muni Patnis. Now, Rama, his situation. Okay, now Sita Devi is taken care of. Okay, so Sita Devi is with Valmiki. She's going to be taken care of for the next few years till she delivers and all that. Now, meanwhile, Lakshman, he returns, right? He returns to the palace. And how did he see Ram? How was Ram in the palace? Was he partying? Was he happy? No. There he saw Ram sitting terribly distracted state of mind, continuously shedding tears, absorbed in a deep state of contemplation. And looking at his condition, Lakshman also started crying. सदृष्ट्वा राघवं दीनमासीनं परमासने नेत्राभ्याम् अश्रुणाभ्यां ददर्शा अग्रजमग्रत. So his netrabhyam ashrunabhyam. That means both his eyes were filled with tears so much that he could not even see anything in front of him. He was lamenting so much. This was the condition of Ramachandra. So the one who sent Sita was the King Rama, but the one who's crying now is the husband of Sita Devi. And he was lamenting, I am the one who has abandoned Sita on the banks of the river Tamasa near Valmiki's ashram. And Lakshman goes and he consoles him and he says, don't cry like this. Please compose yourself. After all, in this world, meeting and separation are concomitant factors. See, after a separation, there is a meeting. After a meeting, there is separation. It is inevitable that separation will happen from our loved ones. So what to do? We have to be detached. So now Lakshman starts to console Ram. Lakshman tells him that he has to come out of this grief because Ram was losing himself. And Lakshman was telling him, you can't sit like this forever. You have to come out of this grief, because now if you keep lamenting like this, people will continue to gossip. What will they say? See how lusty he is. He cannot give up separation from Sita. He is this kind of a man. They will continue to gossip about you. So he also gives the news to his brother that in accordance to his order, he went and left Sita near Valmiki's ashram. He tells to his brother, cast off this weakness, otherwise more rumors will come. This man is not a capable king. So people will make up more and more stories about you. And it had been 4 days. He was lamenting for 4 full days, and he had given up all his duties as a king. And that's when Lakshman continuously consoles him and tells him, this is not good, 4 days. And actually, the 4 days is a big deal for a king. Not attending his duties means it's a big thing, right? Now, another aspect of this Leela, of the separation of Sita and Ram, is Vipralamba. This is commented by our Gaudiya Acharyas also. They all speak about Vipralamba. It is love and separation. And you all know, being devotees of Radha Krishna, we know what Vipralamba is. Vipralamba is love and separation, which is sweeter and more intense than Sambhoga or union. And how to understand this? Sanatan Goswami, he tells, it's like a hot sugar candy. When a sugar candy is heated up, temperature wise, it's heated up, what happens? And you put it on your tongue, it's so sweet, you can't stop eating it. At the same time, it is so hot that you don't want to eat it. It's like outside it's hot, still inside it is so sweet. So, like that, a person experiencing this love and separation, externally, he may be appearing to be burning, but internally, he's relishing that love. So, and we must understand he's the Supreme Lord. This is Leela. And in the spiritual world, Ram and Sita, they are not separated. And only in the material world, they can show these beautiful Leelas of Vipralamba. And of course, Ramchandra, he had only one consort. And he had to have all the rasas with that one consort, right? Sita Devi Sambhoga, Sita Devi Vipralamba, Sita Devi happiness, Sita Devi sadness, Sita Devi fight, Sita Devi patch up, whatever the emotion was, it was with that one wife. So he had all these rasas with her. Anyway, Lakshman eventually he managed to help Ram cast off his grief. And Ram realized that it has been 4 days and I have neglected my royal duties, and it is not good for a kingdom to be without an attentive king. A king should ensure that his business is carried out, and otherwise I will suffer in hell. So he resumed his duties, and Ramchandra was very pleased. He appreciates Lakshman, and Ramchandra later he tells different stories to inspire his assembly in various ways. About the stories from past, in historically how kings have conducted themselves, what mistakes they have made, what achievements they have done, and how we can learn lessons from them. So, like this, Ramchandra has told many stories in his assembly. Once he told the story of a king by the name Nriga. You all know the story of Nriga. Everybody is a Bhagavatam expert, so you all know the story of Nriga. To make it short, there was once a great pious king by the name Nriga who came in the same dynasty as Lord Ramchandra, and he was very well known for giving charities. He gave thousands of cows, and with their calves, well decorated with gold, to many brahmanas. But then one day it so happened that one of the cow that was donated to an old brahmana wandered back and mingled in the crowd of cows that Maharaj Nriga was actually giving in charity. And this old Brahmana who had lost his cow was going in search of his cow. But then, by the time he could spot his lost cow, that lost cow was again re given in charity to another Brahmana. So now a big fight ensued between the Brahmin who had just gotten the cow and the Brahmin who had originally gotten the cow and lost it. And finally, the cow could understand its original master, and the cow went to the original Brahmin. But however, there was a curse that was pronounced on King Driga, and King Driga had to receive the body of a lizard, and he lived in the body of a lizard for many, many years. Mm. According to the Ramayana, he was cursed by the Brahmanas for not resolving their problem. He was unable to resolve their problem, and he becomes a lizard. He becomes invisible to human beings for hundreds and thousands of years. And of course, this Nriga was also given a benediction that after several thousands of years, the Supreme Lord will again appear as Krishna, Vasudeva, and he will release Nriga from the curse. So a nice cozy well was given for Nriga, and he resided there for several years. So anyway, Ram tells Lakshman that a king must never be negligent to his subjects. Even if one subject is dissatisfied, even if one citizen is dissatisfied, he might run into several issues, like King Nriga, who was cursed to become a lizard. So if there are any problems in the kingdom, we should resolve it immediately and we should satisfy immediately, especially the Brahmanas. Then one day Ram also narrated the story of Nimi Maharaj. Um, there was a king by the name Nimi. You again must have read the story in the ninth canto of Bhagavatam. It's a very famous story. This Nimi Maharaj, he was the 12th son of Ikshvaku, and he was actually, according to Bhagavatam, 10 sons only is mentioned. According to Ramayana, it is 12th son. Okay. Bhagavatam has 10 sons, but before that, they had Sudyumna. So, Ikshvaku had a son by the name Sudyumna, kind of a failure, but later they have 10 sons. But Ramayana says 12th son. I don't know why. So anyway, there are some differences probably between the kalpas and all that. So there was a king by the name Nimi who was the 12th son of Ikshvaku, and he was very, very powerful, and he wanted to perform a long-term sacrifice. So he requests his guru Vasishta, because this is all Surya Vamsha, right? Surya Vamsha story is only Ramchandra is telling. So their Kula Guru was Vasishta, and Vasishta has been there throughout. I don't know how. Maybe he has this mystic powers to stay through all the generations without dying. So Vasishta, he was asked to perform the sacrifice. But then Vasishta, it so happened that he already got a booking from Indra. So he told Nimi that you have to wait. I'm busy with Indra because Indra has given me more money. This is there in Bhagavatam. Okay, in the purpose, if you read, you'll see that he actually accepted Indra's offer because Indra is a better payer. So, anyway, after he completed the sacrifice of Indra, he returned to Nimi Maharaj to see if he can help Nimi. But then Nimi had already disobeyed the instructions and he continued to perform the sacrifice with some other guru. Okay, so Vasishta cursed him. He said, "Oh, your body will now fall down. You think that you're very learned, you can be without your guru and you can take independent decisions, your body will fall." Nimi actually countercurses his spiritual master, and he says, "For the sake of getting contributions from the King of Heaven, you lost your religious intelligence. Therefore, I will curse you. If you curse me, I curse you. Your body will also fall." So both Nimi and Vasishta, they gave up their bodies and they were re-embodied. Now, the demigods Mitra and Varuna, they once met Urvashi, and because she was very, very beautiful, they ended up, uh, discharging the vital fluid, and Agastya and Vasishta were reborn. So Vasishta got his next body, and he continued to become the Kula Guru of the Sun dynasty. So, like this, Vasishta was reborn, and again he continued being the Guru. So during the performance of the yajna by Nimi when he was cursed, because see, when he was cursed, it was in the middle of the yajna. That is when he was cursed and he was asked to give up his body. So now the body that he had given up was preserved by the sages in fragrant substances. And at the end of the Satra Yajna that he was doing, the Brahmanas, they made a request to the demigods who had come to take their oblations. And they told the demigods, if you're satisfied with the sacrifice, then bring back this Nimi to life. Because Nimi had given up the body, so now they wanted Nimi to come back to life. They said, if you're really satisfied with this big yajna, demigods, please give back his body. And demigods immediately said, yes, yes, we'll give back his body. But Maharaj Nimi, he opposed. He said, no, don't give me a material body again. And this was his intelligence. And according to Bhagavatam, he receives a spiritual body and he gets liberated. But then the Ramayana, it also talks about one more aspect of this. You know where Nimi lives? In the blinking of the eyes. A split second is called as Nimesha, if you have all heard. This is in time, calculation of time. A Nimisha is a split second. And what is a split second measured by? The blinking of the eye. How often do you blink your eye? In a split second, you blink your eye and you don't even realize that. So that air that helps with the blinking of an eye in a split second is called as Nimesha. And that is where King Nimi resides. Okay. So pretty much King Nimi is helping you all blink your eyes. This is another aspect of the story of Nimi. Okay. Then he continues to say that from the churning, that body was there, right? So Nimi said, I'm not interested in this business. I don't want to come to this body. So he continues to live in the air that is there in blinking of the eyelids, and also he receives a spiritual body according to Bhagavatam. Now that body is there, so they need a next king. So what did they do? They churned the body of Nimi. From the churning of the body of Nimi came Mithi. Mithi means to churn. So now his name was Janaka or Mithi. Because he was born in an unusual way, he is called as Videha or he is called as Janaka and Mithi. These are the different names. And the city that was installed, that was constructed by him, is called as Mithila. Hmm. And that's why we see the later descendant of all the kings of that original Janaka were called as Janakas. All the Janakas that we have heard of, they are all the descendants of this original Janaka. And Sita is also born in the same dynasty. That's why she's called as Maithili, descendant of Mithi. Maithili, descendant of Videha, Vaidehi, descendant of Janaka, Janaki. Okay. So these are the different names of Sita Devi. Maithili, Vaidehi, Janaki. Why? Because she comes in that dynasty. So after narrating the story, Ramchandra, he says that forgiveness is very important. For anyone who has taken responsibility, we should forgive. We should not do this curse, counter curse, curse, counter curse. No, just forgive and let. And then later, he also narrates the story of King Yayati, again, ninth canto story. So all of these are there in the ninth canto. King Yayati, how he was cursed by Shukracharya because of, you all know the story that there was a fight between the Sharmishta and Devyani. And Yayati, he wanted to enjoy his youth. So he requested his youth from his sons because he wanted to be with his wife Devyani. And anyhow, so actually the story, okay, let me tell the story nicely, okay? So basically there were two girls, Sharmishta and Devyani. And Sharmishta was the daughter of one king, one demon king, while Devyani was the daughter of Shukracharya. So when there was a fight that started off in a bathing area, you wore my dress, I wore your dress, some silly fight between two girls. And Sharmishta, what she does is she takes away Devyani's clothes and she goes. And Devyani is without clothes. And that's when King Yayati, he goes by that area and he sees that a lady is stuck in a tank or a well and he gives his hand and she says, since you have seen me in this condition, you have to be my husband. So Yayati and Devyani, they get married. And when they get married, Shukracharya, who's the father, tells Yayati that you may not take this girl Sharmishta as your as the co-wife of my daughter, because the Sharmishta is a very cunning girl. But anyhow, because of fate, it ends up that Yayati also gets married to Sharmishta and he has children with Sharmishta. So understanding that he had breached the order given by Shukracharya, Shukracharya curses him saying that you will lose your youth. And now this Yayati, he became an old man, but he wanted to enjoy his life with Devyani. So he goes and asks all his sons, give me your youth, and so on. The first one he asks is Yadu. And Yadu was the eldest son, and Yadu says no, because he knows that very soon, his in that dynasty, he had to have sons, and in his dynasty, the Supreme Lord is going to appear. Yadu says no, but Puru gives the youth to his father. So, like this, these stories were spoken by Lord Ramchandra. He spoke to Lakshman about attending to the needs of the citizens without fail, acting responsibly, controlling anger, controlling senses, not being like Yayati, controlling senses, and giving the right judgment at the right time, like this. He gave various examples and different stories from his own ancestry, from the line of the Surya Vamsha. And we all know that the king has to bear one-sixth portion of the sins of his subject. You all know this, right? One-sixth portion of the sins committed by the subjects, the king has to bear. We say intoxicating is very no, we say about different intoxicants, right? That this is whatever, beer, wine, all this is very intoxicating. But the biggest intoxicant is power. Power can be very intoxicating, and it is easy to misuse power, but one has to be very, very careful. You know why? Because when you become a king or a ruler or you're responsible for many people, one-sixth of their sins you have to bear. It is not something that you're sitting on the throne and you're enjoying. You're sitting on the throne on behalf of the citizens, and you have to be extremely responsible. So Ramchandra was very aware of this, and he ensured that his citizens were well taken care of. That way they would not sin. And so like this, he would act with proper responsibility. He would take care of the kingdom. And one day, we are going to do the story of the dog. Okay, like Prahlad Ananda Prabhu had asked. So one day, Ramchandra, he went to his assembly and he was very eager to carry out his duties. He tells Lakshman, Lakshman, please go to the palace gate and bring all the people who have any concerns or questions. Okay. So he orders Lakshman, and Lakshman goes. And Ram went outside to see. Lakshman goes outside to see if there is anybody, and he comes back and he says, no, there is nobody with any petition. It appears that the kingdom of Koshala is not in need of anything. Nobody is in need of anything. Everybody is very happy and satisfied in your rule. But Ramchandra, he was not satisfied. He said, go again, go look carefully. I don't want even the slightest negligence from my part. I don't want any sort of irreligiosity in my kingdom. So again, this time, Lakshman, he goes out. He doesn't see any human being with a petition, but then he sees a dog that was sitting at the palace gate. How did the dog look? His head was bleeding, and he was staring at Lakshman with a fixed gaze. The dog was whining very mournfully, and Lakshman asked the dog, what is the matter? Why have you come here? You can tell me anything without fear. The dog indicated that he wanted to speak directly with Ram, whose lotus feet avowed fearlessness and who's the shelter of the distressed. So Lakshman said, okay, doggy, if you have something to say, you're welcome. Come inside and you can directly have an audience with the king. The dog goes in front of the king and he begins to speak. Now the dog is speaking. So the dog says, I'm a very low-born creature and I'm unworthy of entering temples, the houses of Brahmanas, and the royal palaces. However, the king is an embodiment of all religious principles, the representative of all the demigods, the benefactor of all living entities. Without his permission, nothing can happen in this world. I cannot face Ram without his permission. So Lakshman went and, Lakshman indicates to Ram that this dog has come and he has this request. And Ram says, okay, let him talk to me and let him ask his desired request. The dog tells Ram, O Lord, the king is the representative of the Supreme Lord and he is the savior of all creatures. So while others sleep peacefully, the king has to remain alert, always working for the welfare of others. Ram, you are a model religious king. I have something to say, but please don't be angry. Ram says, okay, go on. You can speak without any fear. And then the dog began to tell, I am a mendicant Brahmana by the name Sarvartha Siddha. No, he says, I am a dog, but a mendicant Brahmana by name Sarvartha Siddha injured my head, even though there was no fault on my part. So remember, when the dog had come, the dog's head was bleeding. So now the dog is bringing a complaint against a Brahmana in front of Lord Ram. So he says, Lord Ram, I'm going to tell you something. Don't be angry, but listen to me carefully. A mendicant Brahmana by the name Sarvartha Siddha, what did he do? He threw a stone and injured my head. And the dog says, I didn't do anything wrong, but he just ill-treated me because I'm an animal. So then immediately Ram said, summon that Sarvartha Siddha, ask him to come here. Then Sarvartha Siddha comes to the palace, and Ramchandra asks Sarvartha Siddha, why did you hit this dog? What is his fault? Anger is a deadly enemy. It's like a sharp sword that can take away all your virtues. Anger can nullify one's long accumulated austerity. He's a Brahmin, he's a mendicant. All the austerities that he has done will be nullified when he shows anger. So he says, oh Brahman, one's true character cannot remain hidden, no matter how hard one tries to conceal it. So, unless you have conquered these forces of lust and anger, it is very, very difficult. Your true nature will be shown under stressing circumstances. The Brahmin said, he tells his part. He says, actually, I was wandering about, I was begging for alms, and then when I was walking on the road, this dog was squatting in the middle of the road, blocking my path. I told him, move out. But he was so lazy. He just got up so slowly, and I was thinking why he can't move out. I was so famished, and because I didn't get alms that day, my hunger turned into my anger. I got very, very angry, and I struck him with my staff. And he tells, O king, I'm guilty. I know you should punish me. You can punish me as you see fit so that I do not fall to hellish condition of life. Because when you do a mistake, it is better to get the punishment right away. Otherwise, in your next birth, you have to suffer. So at least the Brahmin knew so much. So he said, whatever punishment you have to give me, you can give me. Now, the dog demanded justice. The Brahmin said, I was very famished. Hunger can turn into anger, and I just hit the dog. So now it's up to you, Ram. Do whatever you think is best. Now, Ram, he turns to his ministers and he asks the ministers, what should my punishment be? Justice has to be done. That way, people will become more confident that the administration is going on well. If punishment is right, people will fear to make big mistakes, right? The stronger the rules and regulations, the lesser the crime. So now, who are his ministers? Brigumali was there, Angiras was there, Vasishta, Kashyapa, all of them, all these great sages were there, and they all know religious principles very, very well. So, so what did they say? They all told Ram, under no circumstance a Brahmana can be punished. Okay. According to Rajadharma, or according to Niti Shastra, according to any dharma, a Brahmin is never punished. But then they tell, but still, you are Raja Rama, you are the king of the subjects, and you are the ultimate judge, you are the Lord of the entire universe, so you take a decision. They say, you are Lord Vishnu. Whatever you speak is the ultimate religion. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. So you give the order. So, like this, when Ram was thinking what he must say, the dog interrupted Ram. The dog didn't tell Ram to give the instruction. Rather, the dog stopped and he said, "Oh king, you asked what I can do for you when I came into this assembly. So, if you really want to do something for me that is pleasing to me, then you have to do me a favor." Now, Ram smiles because now he doesn't have to give the verdict. The sages don't have to give the verdict, but the dog decides the punishment for the Sarvartha Siddha. So Ramchandra smiles and he said, yes, go ahead. What do you want? And that is when the dog says, kindly appoint this Brahmin as the Kulapati, the head Acharya of the Kalanjara Matha. So there was this monastery called as the Kalanjara Monastery. And the dog's request was appoint him as the head of that matha. And Ramchandra was actually, he was smiling because he understood what the dog meant. And he fulfills the dog's request. And the Brahmana became very happy. What? I hit this dog with my staff and broke his head, and I become the Kulapati, I become the head Acharya of a big matha. So he became very, very honored. He becomes the spiritual leader, and he's decorated nicely. He's placed on an elephant, and he takes the throne of that matha, meaning he becomes the head acharya. Now the Brahmana was very happy. The dog was also very happy, and everybody was pleased, and everybody left. Ram was also very happy, but who was unhappy? The ministers, the sages. They were like, this is not fair. This is not a fair punishment. Instead of putting the Brahmana to shame, you have awarded him an exalted position. And the dog is such a stupid dog. The dog is telling that he should become the head of the monastery. What is this? And then Ramchandra said, you all don't understand the intricate laws of karma, but the dog knows it. What is it? Ramchandra explains that no, being prompted by Ramchandra, the dog explains actually. Now this head of Kalanjara Mata is that Sarvartha Siddha, he is gone, but the dog is staying back, and he explains to those sages. He says to the ministers, he says, in my past life, I was the head of that Kalanjara monastery. And I worship the demigods and the Brahmanas. I perform my duties carefully, and I maintained the servants and maid servants, and I took very good care. In spite of so much care and attention, in my next birth, I became a dog because of some unknown fault. I made some unknown mistake. So I became a dog. Now think about this Brahmana. He cannot even control his anger, and he's unfit to be an acharya. For his audacity in accepting such a position, soon he will degrade 7 generations of his family. How can a man who's not able to control his temper and anger be put in charge of Brahmanas, cows, and deity worship? Anyone who steals from the Brahmanas, demigods, women, and children is doomed. And so he says that this man, he cannot even control his anger. What leader can he become? In fact, the very thought of stealing from demigods and brahmanas will send a man to the lowest of hells. So, in fact, this is not an appreciation award for him. Rather, it is his punishment. So, let him undergo the experience that I underwent. Then he will know the difficulty. So this is actually a punishment. And after saying this, the dog disappears. And all of them, Ram, the ministers, the sages, they were all awestruck with wide open eyes. So somehow or the other, though he was such a great personality in the previous birth, he became a dog now. Why? Because leadership means responsibility, and responsibility means sacrifice, and sacrifice means suffering. So the post of a president or whatever is not something to be enjoyed, but it is a very terrible position. It's a post where you have to keep everybody satisfied. So like this, after leaving the court, the dog gave up his life by abstaining from food and water, and he got a better birth. That's why devotees or aspiring devotees, we try not to be leaders, but rather we have to be servant leaders, right? And we try to serve in the mood of servant of the servant. So we'll stop here. That's all for today. And we have another class in the same forum. So if you have any questions, we can take questions for 5 minutes and then we'll stop. Yes, Parima Mataji.
What a fantastic class, Mataji. I just could not stop hearing, and I didn't realize that it was already 7:30. It was so wonderful and it captured my attention so much. Mataji, what class do we have next?
Oh, Bhakti Vaibhav.
Oh, yeah, that I know. By Adhikadada Prabhu, right?
No.
No.
IBMBNA, Bhakti Vaibhav.
Okay. Sorry, Mataji. Okay. Okay, Mataji. Thank you so much for this wonderful class. And I can't wait for the next class. which will be in next Monday, I believe.
Yes, Mataji. Yes.
Yeah.
Hopefully, yes.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Mataji.
Thank you,
Dandavat
Mataji.
pranams.
Hare
I don't.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Rachna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you. So many things in today's class. My God, so many stories and so many teachings and lessons. My God, just starting with Sita Mata, like she's all her reactions and her how she tackled all the situations is why she is the consort of the Supreme Lord. I mean, that's why we read Ramayana, because we want to learn from these great souls how we have to take reversals and all kinds of difficult situations. So very, very stunning. And then even the whole thing about Bhrigumuni cursing Lord Ram, because he got cursed by Vishnu and all that issue. I mean, really, like we can see that when we are understanding the Lord's pastimes, we have to have this complete. Our heart should really feel what is going on. It's really incredible. Yeah. So thank you very much for this and everything after that. My God, the dog. The greatest lesson I learned from the dog is that actually so many of us, when we look at people who are very successful or very in whichever field, we think, oh wow, I envy that person, I wish I could be that. But actually now when we realize that from far it looks like they are very in some great position, but actually to be in their footsteps, we don't know what they are actually feeling in their day-to-day life. When they are not in front of the limelight, we don't know what they are actually going through. So
Very
yeah, it's really something. So I missed yesterday last time's class, but I definitely watched the recordings. But I had mentioned something about Bhuvar Loka, na? Like I had said that the Rakshasas, they live in Bhuvar Loka. So I'll just post on the chat. So like see, in this it says Bhuvar Loka as that of the ghostly spirits. Huh? In the chat. So it says Bhuvarloka is where the ghostly spirits.
Ghostly spirits, yeah.
And then in Bhagavad Gita 9.23, in the purport, Prabhupada is writing, similarly, one can go to many ghostly planets and become a Yaksha, Raksha, and Pisach. So that is where I got the thing that, so I was thinking like these these lokas that we see in the 14 planetary systems. Now, I'm thinking we cannot understand them from a material, mundane vision. They are these realms are in a different dimension altogether.
Yes.
It's like, and so someone can be very much like, and even this bhulok. Just this planet Earth that we see with our material eyes is not exactly Bhulok as it is written in the scriptures, isn't it? Like how it is described in scriptures.
Yes.
Bhulok, this is what we are seeing with our eyes, is not exactly the only Bhulok. There's
Correct.
much more to Bhulok, isn't it? According to the scriptures.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Blue
So,
mandals, yeah.
yeah. So now what do you say about this? Like, so do the Rakshasas come from Bhulok or Bhuvarlok? I mean, what?
So Rakshasas are a class of people. So generally when we say, so anything that is, let's see, these ghostly people, yakshas, rakshasas, pishasas, they are all somewhat with a lower consciousness, okay?
Yes.
So, but each of these are different classes of people. Like people who are pishachas, they are in that bhuvar loka, okay? Because they have a ghostly body, they have a more subtle body and they are more powerful. But these sons, the Dhanavas, they are a class of demons. They also have a demoniac consciousness. They live in a lower planetary system. Like Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Rasatala, Talatala, Mahatala, Patala, like that lower planetary systems are there. There you have different classes of demoniac people. Like Rasatal, for example, you must have heard that, for example, Bali Maharaj and his associates are there. So like that, Rakshasas, they have lived in the lower planetary systems as well as in earthly planetary systems as well. So that's why we see the story, the history of the Rakshasas. So Heti, Praheti, they were the original Rakshasas created by Brahma. Hmm? And then they take different residences. So for some time they lived in the lower Rasatal region, then they emerged from there, then they took some portions of earth, then again they go back to a different region. It's like that. So these demoniac creatures, they are of varieties, like Pashachas, like Dhanavas, or all of them, even Yakshas also. They are somewhat not they are not refined like human beings, okay? So they also have some lower tendencies. So yes, you can. There are ghostly planets. One can go to the Yaksha realm. One can go to the Rakshasa realm. You can go anywhere if our consciousness is degraded and if you are worshipping the wrong person.
Okay, very nice. Thank you for that. Now I have another question. In the Srimad in Bhagavad Gita, I just posted in the chat. This verse comes 10.23. So it says, of the Rudras, I am Lord Shiva, of the Yakshas and Rakshasas, I am Lord of Wealth, Kuvera. Now, according to whatever you are explaining, like it seems that Kuvera is not counted as a Rakshasa. Like, but here
He's
it
a
says,
Yaksha. He's the lord of the Yakshas, but he's not counted as a Yaksha. His followers are the Yakshas and the Krodhashvas, and there are a group of people who are his followers. Yeah.
Oh, so I mean, yeah, and because he's the father is the same, na? Like you said, Ravana's father and Kuvera's father is the same, na?
Yes,
the mothers are
yes,
different,
yes.
but
Yeah. Yes. Mother is Deva Varnini. She's also a very Brihaspati's daughter, actually. So he's a very high class person, Kuvera. But he's actually a Vaishnava. Like if you read Bhagavatam, Dhruva Maharaj is scared that he offends Kuvera. And he requests for forgiveness and all that because he's scared that he'll get implication if he offends Kuvera. But his followers, his people who are under his control are the Yakshas and the Prodashvas. There's a big group, different groups of people he takes care of. Just like sometimes Shiva is called as Bhutanath. He's got all the Bhutas under his control like that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. I was really trying to understand about these Rakshasas and. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. That was very nice.
Sure.
Thank you for beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. Thank you for your association. Yes, Hemangi Gopeshwari Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, my pronouns to you. Wonderful class as usual. Do you have time, Mataji? I know you have to go to Bhakti. Okay. So, Mataji, I'm not very intelligent, I know. There was a story where this Rishi had pierced, I don't know, a butterfly or something. And then he is cursed and he is, he's put on a stool, like, this needle has to go right through his anus, through his head. And then he says that that a person, and that whatever he had done was as a child, like he was, I think, under 5-year-old, and then he had requested that a young under 5-year-old uh, should not be responsible for the actions and should not be cursed or should not be punished. Now, when we say Sita Maria did this to the parrot, what was she? And was this the story happened before Sita Mata did this or after?
No. See, we should understand anyone can curse anybody. Yamaraj should be very careful in giving his orders because he's in a responsible post. So when Yamaraj did not follow the correct rules and he unnecessarily gave punishment to a boy who was innocent, that is when Yamaraj was told that he didn't execute his duty properly in spite of being Dharmaraj, and he becomes Vidura. Okay. But this is different. This is cursing and counter cursing between two individual entities. Like this bird was feeling that shoka, very heavy pain, and said, "You'll also feel that pain." Like that. It was why Yamaraj. See, Yamaraj knows rules and regulations. This one doesn't know rules and regulations. This parrot and all. So ideally, we should understand that we don't hurt any living entity so much we can get implicated. That is the understanding for doing anything that is hurtful to others. Yeah.
Okay, Mataji, understood. Okay, thank you so much,
Mataji, one last thing. Mataji, how can Mother Sita do something like that?
Yeah, that's what. So basically, this is Leela. That's all.
I know. I mean, she's a mother. She cannot.
She cannot do that, but this
It's
is a version
very
of that.
kind of unacceptable, you know.
Yeah, but she does it so that it happens, and whatever. The Leela has
But
to move.
Mataji, we always consider Valmiki Ramayana to be authentic, right? The most
I
authentic.
told this from Padma Purana. I didn't tell from Valmiki.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mataji.
And I just compiled all the possible stories. Is there?
I know.
Also, yeah, that's
Thank you so much, Mataji, for your wonderful association, and I'm done what's pronounced to you. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Hari Bol. And Prahlad Ananda Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you very much for that dog story. I was very inquisitive about that. I heard that from Sripad Radha Govind Swami like that. And, the takeaway from all this nice episode is that, we should purify our vision. That all these animals and other things which we are saying, who actually are they and how we were related like to them, you have pet dog or some other living entities, and how the Bhagavan Krishna says, Gahana Karmana Gati, we don't know. So it actually purifies our vision that, the spouse I have, the children I have, the relatives I have, who are they? And I should get detached slowly from them, get my attachment to Lord Sri Krishna, So these are all temporary things. As we had these parrots about Mata Sita ji and all that. This is very instructive for all of us to kind of, raise our vision to understand that who we are and how we are related to everybody, all jivas, all related humans, non-humans, everything. And our real benefit of Krishna Katha is to become detached, or to at least come to understand that we are very temporarily here related to all this. Our real position is back to Godhead, as Prabhupada says like that. So this was very nice, Mata. Thank you very much again for your so much instructive compilation of Ramayana like that. Thank you again, Mata.
Thank you again, Prabhu, for all the valuable inputs. Thank you. Okay, we'll end here, and whoever has to join Bhakti Web will continue in the other link. Okay. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyeva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaः. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you all so much. Hare Krishna.